Okay, so we need to create our WordPress database. To install WordPress, if you already have a working WordPress, then you're obviously not going to need to install it or create a WordPress database. It's best to create the database first because as you install it, there's going to be a step asking you for its name, the user, and everything else. And to keep just moving straight along, if you've already created it, it just makes it easier. Okay, so we're going to go back to our WAMP server. And if we scroll down a little bit so you can see it, there's phpMyAdmin, which is what we said we would use. You can use MySQL. It's on the machine. There's SQL Buddy. It's one of the aliases. So if we click on phpMyAdmin, up here is Databases. We're going to click on that, and now we have the option to create a database. We're going to create the XYZ database, the Coalition, which is the operating language it's basically working with or using. The default on this WAMP is not general, but in Swedish. So we're going to use, makes sense to have UTF-8 general. General is multi-language, multilingual, and CI stands for case insensitive. So up here, we're going to switch our coalition and specify it, otherwise it would bring up the Latin Swedish, which is not what we want. We're going to choose the UTF-8 general, and you see it pulls up Unicode, multilingual, case insensitive. That's what we want. We're going to create the database, which is all going to take a microsecond. When that goes away, we'll come over here and we'll click on our now created database that's on the side. And there's no tables in it yet. WordPress will create the tables for us as part of the WordPress installation. But what we're going to want to do is to privileges. We're going to add a user. Now currently there's just the root users. We're going to add a specific user for the database, which is safer in our opinion for this WordPress. It's going to be very simple, nothing spectacular, just the boss. Of course, your boss may think they're spectacular. The host is going to be your local, and that changes to localhost. The password for this, we're just going to use reset it. Okay. You, of course, want a much more secure password than that. You can generate one with this. Now, we're going to grant all privileges. This is already checkmarked for us on database XYZ. And yes, that's what we want. Go. And we've added a new user. And if we go to the back to XYZ and privileges, we'll see that the boss is now on the list of users. Localhost, database specific, because we only want them to have access to this database, but they have all privileges. Okay, so we're pretty much done with that. Close this up. And now we're going to need to build the WordPress database. So we're back here. We open up our WordPress file that we've already extracted from the zip file. Another folder underneath that. We'll open up that folder. And what you want to do is copy everything in this folder. So the three folders, admin, content, includes, and oops, I need to hit shift and I hit control. Select all, copy, and we're going to put these in the www folder on our WAMP. Now you can put them at the lowest level of www, but we're going to put them in a separate folder. We're going to separate out our WordPress and keep it separate on a test machine. We're going to just call it WP install. Whoops. WordPress install. And then if we open up this folder that we just created, we can paste in all of the WordPress files and folders. And there we go. Okay, so in our WP install folder, we have all of the WordPress that it needs to operate. One of the other reasons we do this is that the index PHP now is not going to try and overwrite the www one that's here. And keeping your index PHPs and your HT security access, HT access and stuff, it to me makes more sense to have separate directories. You can use, remember we turned the rewrite on? We can use rewrites to tell it when we're going to it to go right here. Okay, so basically our WordPress is installed. If we start up our WAMP server again, and we go to localhost, or not start it up, but go back into it, you'll see projects. There's now a folder, WP install, and that should be in localhost. We can click on this, and unfortunately it removed the local host, so this didn't work. However, if we add localhost back in, I just did that so you would see that, folks, in case you wonder what happened to your installation. Okay, so just this is what the path should be: HTTP localhost WordPress install. And now if we go forward, our WordPress should start up, and there it is. Okay, English, continue, and earlier we told you you're going to need a database name, the username, the password, the host, and the table prefix. Well, here it is. So we can keep going now instead of having to get out of this and create a database. We've already created ours. The name was very simple, XYZ. The username, how can we forget that individual? It's the boss. And the password is reset it. It's on the local host, so that's correct. Table prefix, we're going to go with the default WP underscore. You can change that if that's what you like to do. This way we know these are WordPress tables, but you may have another prefix that you prefer that will also tell you that they're WordPress tables. We're going to submit, and we get a wonderful notice saying, all right, Sparky, we've made it through this part. We can communicate with the database, which means it tried to communicate with it, and it could. So all the information we typed in with the database name, the database user, and the password was correct. Now we're going to run the install, and this is going to take all of, whoa, that long. Okay, the site title is going to be very similar, XYZ Services. This is a service organization, and we'll keep our boss happy, so we'll call the username the boss again. For a password, you obviously want this to be extremely strong. I usually generate one and then copy it and paste it somewhere, or copy it down somewhere. But for test machine and to keep things simple, we're just going to use the same one. Since it is a very weak password, we have to confirm use of it by checking this block. The email, this is just for administration to send us notices, and we're not going to really use it. It's just a test machine, so we're just going to put in something bogus at nowhere.com. Okay. Allow search engines to index the site. We're going to uncheck this. It doesn't really matter because search engines aren't going to get to this. Right now our server's offline. It's only local. So we're going to install WordPress, and it should come back and tell us that the boss, yep, the boss now has a WordPress database. We can log in. And success. Okay, so that was the next step. And let's see what we're at now. We've downloaded the WAMP, we've installed the WAMP, we've created a WordPress database, and we've installed WordPress.